Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Today I want to have a look at this loading animation for Spotify's Astrology Club. This was made by an agency called Make Me Pulse, and it's a great opportunity to look at complex timelines with GSAP, as well as passing functions to values as props for our animation objects.
Hey there, Web Bay.
Now let's have a look at what I built. So you can see we're just focusing on the loader animation, and then we'll bring in some text because astrology is a lie. Okay, we're going to start with just a little bit of theory, then we'll hop into Webflow, and then we will have the code up. I have an Excalidraw here, and this is just going to explain the setup of how things are going. Now, I also have a screen recording of the animation, and we can see it starts at 0% with a yellow background, and then we have this kind of moon reveal. I'm not going to use the Spotify logo in my build, and this is done by creating a circle and bringing it off of another circle, and then that moon is going to fully reveal into a circle. A couple things happen there. We start filling the circle from the top with the blue color and fill the panel background with the orange color. The blue is going to stop in the middle once that panel is full, and then it's going to begin again, and we're going to fill from the bottom with blue, fill from the bottom with yellow in the circle. We're hitting 100% with our text now, and there's this little breathe-in effect that's going on with the yellow circle before we, boom, explode with a yellow circle and a blue circle, and then a bunch of crap comes up on the screen, and jitters and floats and all that sort of thing. So now we know we've looked at what the animation does. Let's have a look at the Excalidraw I have here. So step one, we're going to start counting up from 100%. I have this percent value here, and we'll pull a circle to reveal a moon shape. So if I just drew a circle on here, I want my background to be, let's make it gray, but it's going to be matching the color. This right here is just a circle mask. So if I bring this all the way to the front, you can see anything within the middle of that is shown, but anything that's black is not going to be shown. And then we'll have a circle over our filled circle mask, and we're going to just move this kind of up and to the right, probably like 20% or so that we have this moon shape being revealed. And then we're going to fling that off the screen. And once that's flung off the screen, we're going to go to step 3 here, which is at the same time, we're going to fill the circle from the top with blue, stopping in the middle, and fill the panel from the bottom with orange. So I'm actually going to use a rectangle here. This is going to be a div block without any border radius because it's going to be behind this circle mask. So if I just move it back here, this will be our blue circle fill that's coming down. It's going to stop in the middle. And then when that starts, we're also going to have another div block that's called a panel here. And let's make this, what is it, orange? Yeah, orange. And so this is going to start filling up too, but this will be behind everything. So it's going to come up, come up, come up, and it should be behind the blue here. So let's get it behind our blue. And that's going to fill all the way up once the circle is half full with the blue color. When that's done, now I can't select the blue, so if I just move that a little bit, we'll get our blue, and that's going to come down all the way here. As soon as that's hitting the bottom, that goes away, and we are going to start filling with a yellow circle. So we're going to have this fill down here, and I'll move that to the back, not to the back, but behind the circle, and that's going to start coming up. So we're in step 4 now. Fill circle from bottom with yellow, fill panel from bottom with blue. So we've already just filled with orange, but we're going to have another one that's going to be blue. We'll make that blue, and it needs to be sent back, but I need to figure out how far. Not quite, or no, a little further. Yep, so the background's going to be filling up with blue. The circle is going to be filling up with yellow. There's going to be all sorts of colors flying around. This counter's still going to be going up. And when it reaches 100, we've kind of finished with all of these color fills up and down. And what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in with our circle mask. So we would expect this to be fully yellow by this time. So let's bring this up. Bring our circle mask back on. I wonder if I can group these. Yeah, let's group them. Oh, but you get the picture. And then once that kind of breathe-in effect happens, we're going to explode the whole thing, filling the screen. And while that's exploding, we're also going to start another circle. This one will be orange here in the middle, and this one is going to expand with those as well. Oops, wrong one there. Okay, so that's all these like wild explosion of colors that's going on. For the text, what we have here, so we're going to split it into characters. And what we have here is, let me go back to the video. If we have a look at kind of how this text starts off, we're going to use a from to animation in GSAP. You can see like as we're going further right, the characters are dropping lower as well as getting more rotated. So this is where we're going to use a function as a GSAP value to animate. And so all we're really doing here is this is going to be down and I'm going to exaggerate here. I'm not doing a great job of showing how we can do this with a function. So more, and then let's say this one's more, and start applying some. So that one's going to be, this one will be like really rotated. This one will be really rotated, but a little less so. Really rotated, but a little less so, even more. Kind of rotated, just kind of rotated, a little bit rotated. And you get the picture. So we're going to start off all our text like this, and then we're going to blast it back to the original position it was. Let's see if I can manage that here. Nope, but I can't do the rotation at the same time. Anyways, that's kind of the strategy for the text. And let's hop into Webflow and see how our structure is built and some of our styles. All right, over in Webflow, I have my loader div here. This one's going to be the div that houses everything to do with our loader. So it's a min height of 100 viewport heights, and it's got a width of 100%, overflow set to hidden. It's got position fixed and a z index of 1, so it appears on top of everything. And then also I have the layout set to flex, vertical, center, center. This is what's going to center our circle in the middle of the screen here. Within loader, we have panel first, and panel first is just going to be that background color of burly wood, or I'll just call it yellow here because that's a little bit easier. And also, again, flex, center, center, min height 100 viewport heights. This is just kind of setting whatever the panel and the background colors. And we have our panel orange. So this is the first color fill that we're going to have. And you can see I have the height set to 0 here to start off, and a position absolute down at the bottom. And what's going to happen is as I animate this height from 0 to 100%, it's going to fill with that color in the background. Exact same thing with panel blue here. Just height from 0 to 100%, and we're going to trigger this with GSAP. Now I have circle mask. This is sitting in the middle because it's not position absolute, it's position relative. And then I'm giving it a 1:1 aspect ratio by setting 70 viewport minimums and 70 viewport minimums for width and height. That's all I have for circle mask. Now what's important to know is I have a custom code embed here, and if I inspect that and open the code editor, we can see that, oh, that was a bad zoom. That was also a bad zoom. I'll zoom on this later. So for our custom CSS, I'll open up a style tag, and then I want to target that class of circle mask, and I'm going to give it a clip path property set to a circle with 50% as the parameter passed there, as well as a transform of scale Z1. All this really does is it removes a weird little artifacting line that we have in Chrome. I'm also going to set pointer events to none on our loader div. This is just so that I can't click on anything in there. And then I'm going to close the style tags. So that's it for our custom CSS. We'll go ahead and save that. Now within our circle mask, we have our initial fill of orange. It's width 100% and height 100%, and it has a background color set to orange. Now we can't see it right now because I have this circle moon move on top of it, which has the color of burly wood or yellow, and it has a radius of 50 viewport width. So this is just a circle that's sitting right on top. However, I can see the orange circle behind it if I set a move. Let's say I move it, to the right 129 pixels and move it up as well. And we're kind of creating that moon shape that we saw in the beginning of the animation. The other fill colors that we have a circle fill yellow and a circle fill blue, and these are going to behave very similarly to the panel fills that we have going on. So this first one, the fill yellow, is set to absolute down at the bottom here with a height of 0. But as I start animating that, it's going to fill our circle with the color yellow. Kind of hard to see because our clipping path is the same color. But if I use the circle fill blue here and go from 0 to 100%, we can see we're filling that circle with this color. Okay, now I'm going to move this moon cover up back to where it was. We don't need that. We're going to do that all with GSAP. And let's discuss the percent wrap that we have going on down here. I need to zoom out just a second so you can see that. And let's set it, like we could set it to 1 or 0. You can see I can't select it right now because I have that pointer event set to none. But if I come into my embed and just comment this out for now, I can go ahead and work on my loader here. So that pointer events none is something you want to wait until the end of your project to set that. And we've got our counter text. This has an ID of counter number. So we're going to target this number 0 and we're going to count it from 0 to 100 using another GSAP function as well. This % is just here to be a %. And I've got a circle fill orange final. You'll notice this is outside of the circle mask because at the end, this thing is going to scale up and cover the %. So if I set the scale here, you can see now that's covering our 100%. And we need it as a sibling to % so that it's in the same stacking context. If we put it within circle mask, it would be in a different stacking context and we would have trouble getting it to render over that 0% or 100% as it will be when the animation is finished. Now let's go ahead and reset the scale on our circle orange final just so that it's back to being 0 and takes up 0 space. And that takes care of everything within the loader. If I go ahead and hide our loader, we can see now our text astrology is a lie. And this is just an H1 and another H1 sitting below it. And I don't have any ID or anything on here. We're just going to target the class of H1 to make this animate, as well as the class of is a lie. Lastly, in the page settings, I'm just loading up some code here by deferring a script within the head tag. So let's have a look at the code line by line. All right, in our code, you can see I've already installed the GSAP library as well as the split type library. And I just have a little snippet in here that waits for Webflow to be ready. Once Webflow is done, we're going to execute our code. The first thing we're going to do is define a master timeline. And this can be done by just declaring a variable called master and setting it equal to gsap.timeline. And then with that, we can use this .add syntax and pass individual timelines within the parentheses here. So the very first one we'll focus is on our loader timeline. So I'll just pass loader, open close parentheses, and now we need to define it by saying function loader, open close parentheses, and then open close sideways mustaches here, or curly brackets. Within the curly brackets, we'll define our timeline for the loader, and that is also equal to gsap.timeline. And I'm just going to drop that on the next line and pass it an options object. The option we want to set is the onComplete property. We're passing it an empty function here, but when this is complete, we want to get rid of our loader div, right? That thing that's fixed on top of everything. So I'll target the loader class with gsap.set and set its visibility to hidden. So the user will no longer see it after the animation has completed. Next, we're going to start defining our animation. So the first thing we want to do is we want that circle moon to translate up and right with a pause in the middle. And we can do this using two .to animations. So I'll say .to circle moon move. Remember that div that's laying on top of our circle, and the options object that we'll pass it here is we'll move it to an x% of 20, a y% of -20. Make it take 1 second and set our easing function to power4.out. And then to take it to all the way off, we'll take it to x% 100, y% -100, duration 1 second, ease power4.out. So let's save this. If I refresh, we can see our moon moves and then off screen. And then on complete, we're getting astrology is a lie, and that fixed div is going away. So we just need to keep writing our timeline arguments here, and we'll build out the timeline. Next, I want to animate the orange panel from the bottom. So I'm going to say .to, I'm going to pass it the argument of class orange or panel orange. And within our GSAP parameters that we want to animate, we're going to animate to a height of 100%, a duration of 1 second with our custom or our power4.out ease here. And I'm going to pass it a time to start of 0.01 seconds after the start of the previous animation. That's what this syntax is here as the third argument to our .to call. I also want to fill the circle with blue with a pause at 50%. I think once that's done, we'll see here in a second. But so I'm going to call .to again, and I'll pass the circle fill blue class to it. And the properties that we want to animate, will animate the height to 50% over a duration of 1 second. And we'll also have that start right at the time the previous animation starts using this syntax, the little less than sign. Now we also want our circle fill blue class to animate all the way to 100% once this one is complete. So we'll just do another .to animation to a height of 100% over 1 second with the same ease. And now let's save and see our progress so far. Okay, so we've gotten a little bit further here with things animating even more, but we need to keep building this timeline. And it's just going to be more .to statements. You can guess this whole timeline is just going to be a bunch of .to statements. Now we want to animate the blue panel from the bottom just as the circle is filled with blue. So we're going to call a .to animation, passing in our class of panel blue, and we're going to animate it to a height of 100%, duration 1 second with a little bit of a different ease, power 2.out here. And we want this to start 0.7 seconds before the end of the previous animation. I just found this to look best. And so that's using this syntax. Notice we're using the greater than sign at this point and a minus 0.7 here. Now we'll fill the circle with yellow just as its blue fill finishes and the blue panel starts. So another .2 animation, target our class of circle fill yellow, animate to a height of 100%, duration 1 second, ease power 4.out. And this is going to start at the exact same time as the previous animation starts. So this one up here. Then we're going to hop into our expanding circles animation. Now, let me save here and just check how we're doing with our animation so far. Okay, so we've done all the up and down color changes of the circle and the panel, and now we need to do our exploding circles. For the exploding circles, we're actually going to animate this circle mask to a larger scale. So I'll pass, remember we're going to breathe in first, so I'll pass a scale of 0.9, and then we're going to scale up. So another .2 on the circle mask to something like 3. We'll make sure that this takes up the whole window over a duration of 1 second. And then we're also going to scale up, let me scroll here, the final orange circle, which overlays our loading percent number. So we'll target the class of circle orange final. We'll set the properties to scale to 2 over a duration of 1.5 seconds. And we'll make it start at the same time our circle mask starts expanding. Then we'll just return our loader animation such that when we call it up here, everything runs smoothly. So I'll save, come over here, and we can see we've got this animation working just as we want it to happen. Now, next we'll tackle the percent, and then finally we'll do the text coming onto the screen. Now, something that's important is that we want that percent animation to last the exact same amount of time as our loader animation. So to do that, we can call this total duration function on the loader function and just wrap that in something called counter. Now, counter is the function that we're going to be naming the counting animation that we have. So we've got our function declaration here. We'll name it counter. It gets an argument of duration, which is going to be a number. This is a little bit of TypeScript that I'm writing here. Don't worry about that. And then we have open close curly brackets in here, which is where we're going to write all of our code for this one. I actually pretty much just grabbed this from the GSAP forums. We're going to target the ID of counter num. Remember, we looked at that ID that we set in Webflow. And then in here, we'll specify what we're going to animate. So we want to animate the inner text to 100%, or the number of 100. Remember, we're at 2 here, so we initially set it to 0, so it's going to 100. And then we're going to use this snap property, which comes built in with GSAP, and we're going to pass it the string of inner text so that GSAP knows not to use any decimal numbers here. We're also going to call duration here. This is the same thing as saying duration. And we're going to set our ease to power 4.out. Now, if we save and check out our animation, we have our numbers counting up to 100% right when the circles start to explode. Lastly, we'll take care of the text that comes on screen after the loader goes away. So we're going to split astrology using the split type library into just individual characters that we can say by instantiating a new class of split type and passing our class of h1 to that. Next, we're going to add onto our master timeline another timeline called header. Down at the bottom of our code, inside the Webflow function, we will define the header function. We'll say header timeline equals gsap.timeline. And now we're going to write our from to animation. So I've got .from to here. And within that, I want to pass split heading chars or characters as the element that we're going to target. In this case, it's multiple elements, but that's okay. GSAP understands that here. We want to animate from an opacity of 0, and we're going to have a starting value determined by the index and multiplier value so that each character is further down and right and rotated than the last one, like I showed in our Excalidraw. Now, here's where it gets fancy. We're passing in a function instead of a value as the value to our parameter here. So we know X%, but GSAP, we're going to say it's a function, and GSAP is going to give us this index as a parameter within our function. And this index is going to go from 0 to whatever number we go to based on how many characters that we have. So for the first character, it'll be 0. For the second character, it'll be 1, all the way up to whatever number that letter of Y in astrology would map to. And what we'll do is we'll return index plus 1 times 20. And index plus 1, all this is doing is saying, okay, for the first one, this is going to be 1 times 20, so we'll return an X% of 20. And then for the last one, I think there's 8 letters in astrology, we'll return 9 times 20. as our X%. For Y%, we're doing the exact same thing, but with a different multiplier. Here I'm passing 30. And for rotate Z, we're going to use 9 as our multiplier. Lastly, we need a to statement, so we want to animate to an opacity of 1 and X%0, Y%0, rotate 0, basically where the text should be if it were just normal text in a line. And we'll pass our duration of ½ second here. Next, we'll cause a from to animation on our isAlign class. This is just, we're just going to have this kind of fade in. So we'll set the from an opacity of 0 to an opacity of 1 over 1 second with a 1 second delay so that I can finally hit you with, hey, I don't believe in astrology. So we'll return our header timeline at the end here and come back up to the top. Actually, before we call our header function, which is going to call that timeline, we need to set our split heading right above that. Otherwise, it's not going to know about split heading. It's not going to be able to get those characters within our text. So I've moved that up there and I've saved. Let's come back to our animation and see how it goes. And there we have it. Astrology is a lie, and you know how to build award-winning animations. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me out big time. And let me know what you want to see next. I'll see you in that next one. Bye-bye.